please state your name for the record?
Ruth Lockhart.
And Miss Lockhart, where do you currently reside?
I live in Clayton with my son.
And have you ever worked for the Towers Hotel?
Yes, until recently I worked there as a maid.
And were you employed there as a maid on the night of November 15th?
Yes.
And on that night, in the course of your duties, did you happen to see anything unusual?
No. At least I didn't think so at the time. Not until later when the police started asking me questions.
About Ben Warren's murder?
Yes, they asked us if we'd seen anyone near room 3010.
Mr. Warren's room?
Yes.
And did you?
Yes.
Ruth, did you see someone outside of Mr. Warren's room the night of November 15th?
Yes, I saw someone.
And is that person here in the courtroom the person that you saw that night?
Yes.
Could you please point that person out?
That's her. That's the woman that I saw, Michelle Santos.
Ross lying. Let the record reflect that the witness pointed to the defendant, Michelle Santos.
I don't understand this. She was supposed to say she didn't see her. That's
She's
what she
lying.
was going to say.
Can you please describe to the court exactly what you saw that night outside of Ben Warren's room?
It was about 9 o'clock. I know that because I was dusting a clock in another room at the time. Anyway, after I finished dusting the room, I went out into the hallway, and that's when I saw her. I saw her exiting Mr. Warren's apartment.
Michelle Santos.
Yeah, yes.
Did she seem upset?
Objection. Calls for an opinion. Sustained.
What was she doing?
It looked like she was putting something into her bag.
And could you see what it was?
No, not really.
Well, was it anything like an item of clothing? Perhaps bloody gloves? Or maybe it was something more substantial like an ashtray or a gun?
Your Honor, please. Objection. Sustained. And strike Ms. Wolf's comment from the record. Ms. Wolf, don't do that again. The jury is instructed to disregard the remark.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Somebody's paying her off.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Ross. It's probably the same person that's paying her medical bills for her son.
I know that, and I will get her to admit it. Mr. Marler, would you like to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor, I would. In fact, I have many questions for this witness. Good afternoon, Mrs. Locker.
Good afternoon.
I have to tell you that it is nerve-wracking for a lawyer to handle a case where the death penalty is involved. Is it nerve-wracking to testify in such a case?
I guess so.
Well, then both of us should do our best to get to the truth. Now, then, you mentioned earlier that you lived with your son.
Charlie? Yes?
And Charlie is quite seriously ill, isn't he?
Objection. Relevance?
Mr. Marler.
Your Honor, the defense has reason to believe that this witness is being paid to give false testimony, and this line of questioning goes directly to her financial status.
Do you have proof of these allegations?
Your Honor, if given some leeway, I will quickly get to the point. Very well. Thank you. Now then, your son is sick.
Yes, he has a chronic heart condition.
And that's a condition that is very expensive to treat, correct?
IHMO calls it a pre-existing condition.
So you are bearing quite a burden.
Yes.
Now then, you live in the town of Clayton, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
But you only recently just moved there. Before that, you lived in Springfield?
Yeah, well, it was only temporary. I was saving up money and working as a maid.
Well, I want to get the time frame correct. The fact is, directly after you gave your statement to the Springfield Police Department, you packed up your things and you took off.
No, actually, I've been thinking about it for a while.
Well, then you should have left a forwarding address with the boarding house that you were staying at. And you certainly should have left a forwarding address with your former employer, because the fact is, you never did pick up your final paycheck.
Well, I guess I forgot.
Mrs. Lockhart, how could you possibly forget to pick up money that would help to care for your son?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Do you know where your son is being cared for, where he's being treated?
The Lawford Clinic.
Yes, and that is a very expensive facility, and I know that partly because I have a bill here. For part of Charlie's health care, and Your Honor, this will be Defense Exhibit A. Here is a copy of that bill, and it is substantial. It is for $12,500, and it says right down here that you not only paid it in full, but you paid this bill in cash. Now, Mrs. Lockhart, you recently quit your job as a maid, making minimum wage, and you didn't even bother to pick up your final paycheck. Now, that makes me think, did you suddenly come into a lot of money?
I saved up.
For how long? A decade?
Objection.
Sustained.
Mrs. Lockhart, your son is suffering. And I know what you're going through because I have children too, and it just kills you. It kills you when you see them in pain, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Wouldn't you just do anything to take little Charlie's pain and just make it go away?
Yes, of course I would.
Does that include lying on the stand?
No.
Overruled. Now, isn't it true that you are being paid for this testimony? And isn't it equally
it's
true,
not true.
that you never did see Michelle Bauer Santos?
Yes, I mean,
Yes
no.
or no? What is it then?
No.
Yep. Sustained. Oh, you're badgering the witness.
Mrs. Lockhart, a young woman's life is at stake. Can you understand that? Now, false testimony could send this young woman to prison for life or worse.
Objection.
Mr. Marler.
I am sorry. Could you please tell us, Mrs. Lockhart, where did that money come from?
I saved up.
Well, then you keep doing it because you're very good at it. No further questions.
Your Honor, I'd like to redirect.
Proceed.
Miss Lockhart, we spoke before about your testimony in preparation for this trial, correct?
Yes.
I was just wondering, is there anyone else who spoke to you about your testimony prior to today? Someone that's here in this courtroom?
Yes. Someone. Here.